If you're not careful and no clip out of reality in the wrong areas, you'll end up in the backrooms, where it's nothing but the stink of old moist carpet, the madness of mono yellow, the endless background noise of fluorescent lights at maximum hum buzz, and approximately 600 million square miles of randomly segmented empty rooms to be trapped in. God save you if you hear something wandering about nearby, because it sure as hell has heard you. Welcome to the Backrooms, traveler. It seems that you've no-clipped out of the bounds of reality and into a bizarre new world. We'd like to welcome you to the Backrooms, an alternate dimension where the laws of physics cease to apply. Many other people just like you are stuck here. Don't panic. You're in the right place for answers. Before you venture further, be sure to refer to the given databases in the description, and videos like this will help you along the way. In the meantime, unpack your bags. You'll be here a while. You're not exiting anytime soon, if ever. So, what is this place? I'm glad that you asked. Each area of this labyrinth is seemingly random. Barely any sense of continuity exists here. Therefore, the Meg has decided to label each place a level, followed by a number on the database. Levels are generally numbered in order of discovery. In rare cases, a specific situation may warrant a specific number assignment for organization reasons. Each level contains its own set of characteristics and objects. Many of these objects will represent items in your previous reality. Most are completely identical, but some may include special properties that distinguish the item. If a level is deemed similar enough to another, such that it can be classified as a continuation, the Meg will deem it as a sublevel, denoted by a decimal number. However, arbitrary numbers sometimes cannot effectively describe a level in its entirety. Sometimes, to emphasize certain dangers or disorderly matter, the Meg may choose to label a level with a non-numerical character. Such labels are ultimately up to the personnel choice and may be adjusted if necessary. First, we must describe this place. You're currently in what we commonly refer to as Level 0. Your first destination. This level consists of 3 distinct characteristics: loud buzzing fluorescent lights, yellow stained walls, and aging beige carpets. If this area unsettles you, I'm afraid this is only the beginning. You'll experience terror and insanity during your journey in the backrooms. You'll have a close call with death, but even death may not be the end of your travels. Currently, only 9 levels are confirmed. We refer to these as the main 9. Every other level is deemed unconfirmed. This does not explicitly deny their existence, but simultaneously, witnesses of these levels are so few in number that these levels cannot be confirmed to exist. The backrooms may warp a wanderer's mind, personalizing experiences. Many levels have core elements that define them, but some wanderers may experience the same level differently. Perhaps they feel more monotonous, more nostalgic. No comprehensive guide can fully instruct you on how to survive. Your experiences may differ from the tales of the other wanderers, so we must warn you. The backrooms aren't just a series of hallways, as your first experience may have suggested. Some levels pose a threat to life, containing various creatures that we refer to as entities, and they range from passive, helpful companions to hostile, deadly monsters. We apologize for the lack of information on the more aggressive entities, however, realize that many who encounter them may only get to post the occasional eerie image or story before the accounts go dark. Before you move on, know that there is no confirmed exit to this place. No wanderer has ever been confirmed to re-enter reality. This place is your new home. Good luck, wanderer. And welcome to my channel. I'm JayDreamerZ. Today we're going to talk about the backrooms. That was sort of an introduction to the backrooms. I'm going to go into all of the detail. I see everybody in the chat. Let me know in the chat who has heard of the backrooms, who has not. heard of the Backrooms? Just let me know. I want to get an idea because I had no idea what they were up until a few weeks ago when you all told me about it. So, what are the Backrooms? In my own words, the Backrooms are the newest form of creepypasta on the internet as a horror story. Creepypasta is a twisting of words. Creepypasta is a really good example of, you know how I always share etymology and I break down words with everyone and we go back to their origins. We can see how they evolve. We can see how the words and the letters and the characters and the glyphs all start to change over time with dialect and pronunciation and accent, right? Creepypasta is an excellent example of that because it started off as a description of people who had copied and pasted many different stories, and the origin of those stories became lost in the internet somewhere. So they were deemed copy and paste stories, or that turned into creepypasta stories, right? Because it sounds kind of similar. So the Backrooms are one of the newest forms of creepypasta. I've also had a couple of videos where I've talked about Slenderman, I've talked about Siren Head or Lamp Head, the Rake. These are all various forms of online creepypasta. Now, I want to address this too, because we're going to talk about how real are the Backrooms. How real are these creepypasta stories? Are they just made up and there's no merit to them and we should dismiss them as we dismiss movies and we dismiss fantasy books and we dismiss all of these other forms of truth that have survived the test of time as a seed in our collective subconscious, which we'll also come back to. Okay, I'm going to come back to the collective subconscious and what I believe the Backrooms are. All right, so back to my notes here. They're a new form of creepypasta. And I want to tell you about how I first heard about the Backrooms. I have a segment on my channel called Masterpiece Mad Libs where we use AI to create pictures, right? So someone gave me the prompt of Sumerian rappers or Babylonian rappers or something in the Backrooms. And it bugged me because I had no idea what the Backrooms were, but I love the picture that it produced. So I started researching what are the Backrooms and I looked into it. And the more I looked into it, the more my mind was blown with all of the truths, the little breadcrumbs all over the place, right? And it intrigued me. Now it's really easy to pick up on it and to learn the gist of what the Backrooms are. And I'll break it down here in just a second. But as I'm studying them, at least the lore as it's building. The lore for the Backrooms is currently being built and people are adding to it all of the time. It's very interesting to watch the lore grow. And I will also let you know I've given 2 links in the description. One is a link to the fandom, which I just read from because I like their storyline introduction. Another one is to the regular wiki Backrooms link. So check those out for lots of information, all the information you could possibly want on the official status of the Backrooms, right? That's the lore part of it. So check this out. As I'm researching the Backrooms, right? My first impression watching the videos was it creeped the freaking heck out of me. These are some examples right here, okay? Many of these on the bottom are just ideas, images that I've taken either from the computer or I made them using artificial intelligence and stuff. The top one are some examples of found footage of people who have been to the Backrooms, right? So I want to throw out 2 ideas at once, okay? That's not real. That's made up. Somebody made that. Somebody created that, just like they would a movie. Okay, but just because we watch a movie and the movie we know is not real, right, doesn't mean that it does not absolutely represent a truth. It may actually represent a truth, which is why what I do on my channel is I break down the truth in movies, right? I believe there's truth in everything. All right, so I'm researching the Backrooms. My first impression, I'm creeped out. I don't like it. Like you're stuck in these hallways. There's Fantazoids walking around all over the place. Which first I was excited. I'm like, wow, Fantazoids, this is great. I love it. These are all these monsters, which are known as entities in the Backroom, are filled with Fantazoids. So I'm like, okay, a little breadcrumb. I'm going to follow that breadcrumb, right? So I'm watching it and it starts to remind me of things that I have studied when, on my truth-seeking path, when I'm looking up underground bases and aliens and strange monsters that have been captured by the government, which is a huge part of the lore to the Backrooms, is there's these government agencies, guys right there, who walk around in those radioactive suits and stuff, right? So it reminded me specifically of the vivarium or Vivarium Hall. It's also known as Monster Hall. And this is in the alleged underground secret base in Dulce, New Mexico. If you've studied it or not, I'll give you a quick synopsis of it. It's an underground base. It's a deep underground military bunker, according to the legends and the stories. They have various levels to it, right? And on the 6th level of this underground base is what they call Nightmare Hall. The reason they call it that is because it's filled with creatures from your nightmares. It's full of Fantazoids that the government or certain agencies have captured, and basically it's a little underground zoo of otherworldly animals that they experiment on, and that's just level 6. There's other levels where they do weird stuff to people too, and that's what it started to remind me of. So what I'm doing is I'm using comparative mythology, taking the modern myth or the modern legend of the Backrooms, and allowing myself to be open enough to see where it kind of pings my own research, my own experience, and my own breadcrumbs of truth that I have found on my truth-seeking path, right? So that's what it started to remind me of, was the underground base, even in fiction, right? The Princess Bride. Many of us love The Princess Bride, but have you ever read the book? Probably not, because the book is like that big. It's huge. Way longer than the movie is, right? But if you read the book, the movie left out a really exciting part when Wesley is taken underneath that tree and he goes down underground and he's sort of tortured and put onto that rack. Remember that part? Well, that underground area is just one level to Prince Humperdinck's underground zoo of death, is what it's called in the book. It's got 5 levels in the book with increasingly more dangerous animals, so that Prince Humperdinck can be the best hunter or whatever, right? It also reminded me of Carlos Castaneda's Teachings of Don Juan, A Separate Reality, and those other books, many books where people have gone under the tutelage of shamans or witch doctors and whatnot, and they've allowed themselves to open up to their teachings and their way of life. And when they do, they tend to have these stories where they see otherworldly creatures or monsters, right? All right, so that's what it started to remind me of. I want to check out the levels. So what I'd like to do is just kind of go over these. Now, before I do that, let me give an explanation of what the Backrooms are in my own words, okay? So basically, in a video game, or in a simulation, usually in a video game, right? There's glitches that happen sometimes, especially in the older video games, where you can no clip, or you can glitch or sort of warp through a structure that is supposed to be solid in that reality, like a wall or a boundary or even the floor, right? And sometimes you can hit a glitch and the computer it gets confused, and it allows you to pass through a boundary that the creator did not want you to pass through. So you fall through that wall, or you fall through the ground. And some of us have used that to our gain and to our advantage, so we can get into restricted places in the video game, right? So it's the same exact concept, except you would no clip through the walls of our reality, your reality here on Earth, right? Which is totally real according to the lore, right? But I believe it has a grain of truth in our actual reality. I'll get into that here more in a minute. So when you fall down into this, usually fall almost always into level 0, or the first level, which is usually represented by all of the yellow rooms that you see, right? Just infinite yellow hallways and segmented rooms. Size and proportion are different all over the place, and sometimes they have sort of different themes or reoccurring themes as well. So that's level 0. Level 0 is the very first one. We've alluded to it already. I'm going to go ahead and read some of this from the descriptor of level 0. It says the rooms are diverse in size. All the levels are too. Security and safety. These are the blueprints to the Backrooms, right? So people are cataloging, according to the legend. Many groups, some government entities go into the Backrooms and they try to catalog. They try to learn as much as they can about it, because they're exploring it, right? For their own reasons. So they go in, they write down how safe each level is, or each room is, I guess you could call it. How big it is, how secure it is, and how safe it is, right? Many of these levels represent what are known as liminal spaces, evoking an eerie feeling inside of the heads of the inhabitants. I'm going to stop right there. Time out, right? Liminal spaces. A liminal space essentially is a transitional space, usually a corridor of some type, like a hallway, right? Or a conduit, right? So the idea of these infinite liminal spaces that have these hidden doors that when you open, you walk into another realm or another world is something that I've touched on many times in my videos as a very real idea that exists within what I call the FractalVerse, right? Basically, we have these doors, these windows that are hidden to us. You know, most people in our world are unaware of anything, but especially these types of things. But occasionally people stumble into them, right? You have your odd traveler or your random explorer or fisherman or whatever it may be. Somebody goes a little too far and they fall off the map, or they go somewhere else, which is a different place than here on the surface where we live, right? Let me continue reading this. It says, view some of these levels photographs and you may enthusiastically point your finger and scream, this place looks familiar, right? So there's a familiarity to all of this too, which I believe comes from the FractalVerse, right? Because it's all fractal, it's all spiraling, it's all repeating everything, all of the coding, all of the vibrations, they're all mirroring one another, but they have a false, they have an effect of mesmerizing those who are within it to not see the pattern, to not see the infinite repetition, but to only see what is around and nearby, which is a local reality. All right, so level 0 is the lobby. That's when you first no-clip into there. There's some examples of the lobby up there. It's all yellow walls, all monochrome, which is another thing that I wanted to talk about too. The monochrome is one color, mono one chrome color. This first level is all monochrome. Now, this first level was the very first Backrooms invented. Let me tell you the story of how the Backrooms came about with the creepypasta, right? On 4chan, somebody had posted, hey everyone, send me images that are unsettling. I'm paraphrasing, right? Somebody posted an image that looks kind of like these ones of the yellow luminous space or whatever it's called. And that was just their submission. Someone else entirely commented on it, leaving a short 1 or 2 paragraph story about this yellow hallway that was posted that looked really creepy. And that's the one that I first read you, where it says you just, no-clipped into reality or into an alternate reality or whatever, right? So that's where that came from. And it's interesting because this is huge. This is really popular on the internet all over the place right now. These types of videos have millions of views because people are very interested. There's something that hits home deep inside of people where they're like, this is freaking creepy and weird and scary, and I can't stop watching it. I want to know more about this. I want to know what's going on. Does it have an end? Could I accidentally go there? I feel like I've been there. Something about this concept of the Backrooms is touching base and hitting home with a lot of people, right? And that's because I believe there's truth to it, and it's more real than people would lead on, right? But the cool thing is, remember, we're going to come back to this. Remember, one person suggested the idea. Another person posted the picture, the first picture. A different person, so 3 different people, right, wrote the story. 3 totally different people came together with their collective focus and started painting a picture for all of us to be interested in and add to. We're going to come back to that too. And I believe that's really important when it comes to the concept of the Backrooms, especially if you have any inkling that they might be real. All right, so that's level 0. Basically, that's where you start. The next level that you can go into, these levels are connected to nearby other levels. Sometimes you can warp from these levels into other strange higher levels or lower levels as well. It depends on what happens there. The next level is called the habitable zone. And people give these different names, right? The description of the habitable zone is a massive warehouse with concrete floors and walls, exposed rebar, dim fluorescent lights placed on the walls, and a low-hanging fog with no discernible source. The fog often coalesces into condensation, forming puddles on the floor in inconsistent areas. Unlike level 0, this level possesses a constant supply of water and electricity, which allows indefinite habitation by wanderers, providing that appropriate precautions are taken. It's also far more expansive, possessing staircases, elevators, isolated rooms, and hallways. The fluorescent lights at any time can flicker on and turn off for minutes or even hours. When this occurs, hostile entities may appear. These entities rarely attack in groups and tend to avoid light. If the lights turn off, it's strongly advised to try and navigate your steps. Try to avoid any strange noises and find a room. Make sure to bring a light source with you. All right, let's time out on that one real quick. The entities that are crawling throughout the backrooms, right? So imagine in your mind, whatever the realm that we live in right now looks like to you, because everyone has a totally different concept of what our realm looks like, right? But imagine that our realm, let's imagine that the official story of our realm is not true, which won't be hard for many of you. Imagine that instead of other worlds being millions of light years away, super, super far out there, and it's just going to take forever for anyone to ever come here or go there, etc. Imagine that's not true. Imagine that there are realms just outside of our sky, which I've given many videos on, but just beyond the physical boundary of the sky. I'm going to say it like that. Also, off to the sides, laterally, there are other hundreds upon hundreds of different realms, just like this one, but similar to this one, I should say, right? But not the exact same. Similar coding, but slightly different. And then, of course, there are other realms down below us, other worlds completely. This isn't too much of a stretch of the imagination if one were to start studying and looking into and rediscovering the myths and the legends and the creation stories and the destruction stories and the stories of the end of the prophecies of the end of things and resets and new beginnings and stuff, because these stories are found throughout time, across cultures. They transcend every boundary. They're always there. This is where we dive into to get our very best entertainment. Why? Because those movies and stories that excite us the most tend to be filled with the most truth, right? All right, so anyways, the reason that there are these entities crawling about is because there are otherworldly creatures, otherworldly humanoid types like us, otherworldly animal types like our beasts that roam about here in this realm, and altogether different conditions that they've been living under would lead them to look altogether different, alien, scary looking, even the kind ones. I'm sure most people would freak out and become terrified to even see one in their presence, no matter if it's good or bad, right? Which is too bad. All right, let's continue on. Let's see. Crates of supplies appear and disappear randomly within the level, often containing a mixture of vital items, food, almond water, batteries, tarps, weaponry, clothing, medical supplies, etc., and nonsensical objects, assorted car parts, boxes of crayons, used syringes, partially burned paper, live mice, mice in a catatonic state that have been injected with unknown substances, shoelaces, loose change, bundles of human hair. The crates should be approached with caution due to their contents, but are a valuable resource. Now, that's a part of the lore. That's a part of the pretend story. But what's the reality behind it? That's what I'm asking, right? So first and foremost, you should know that according to the lore, right, if you're out there traversing infinite backrooms and scary luminous hallways, you'll need water. You'll need food, right? So it was discovered, right? It was discovered that there is a drink called almond water within the backrooms. Almond water, when you drink it, not only quenches your thirst, but it quenches your hunger as well, which is useful and interesting if you're playing along and you're, diving into the lore. In reality, there is plasma connecting in and throughout all of these Backrooms in the FractalVerse that we all live in. Plasma is connecting many different things, and plasma, I believe, when it's strong enough and large enough, creates a byproduct that's sort of this viscous substance that our ancient legends and myths ascribe to as being the drink of the gods, that they would drink it and it would rejuvenate them. They would become full of energy. It was like a 5-hour energy, but it lasted for a very long time, right? Well, it's an interesting correlation. But anyways, this was the ambrosia. This was the drink of the gods. So in the Backrooms, they have almond water. It's interesting that they chose almond, which is the fruit of a tree, right? And the tree of life is what the fountain of youth, basically, on each world that has it, shoots up as plasma, right? Whenever we go through a polarity reversal, the light is coming down and going into the world right now as it charges. Once it's done charging, it will shoot the energy outward and fill our world with that almond water, right? Which is, it's referred to as many different things, right? So for example, biblically, it would be manna or manna from the heavens because it shoots up and then it coalesces and it falls down to our world, right? Other movies refer to it as ooze or slime, etc., and it always is invigorating. People went on holy missions to go find what they had deemed as sacred honey from the sacred bees, right? Bees being balls of light or plasma or ball lightning, I guess you could say, that leave a trail of this slime, essentially. And people go look for it, and they highly coveted it, especially whenever the lifespan started to shrink in our world as the world gained more pressure once more. Let's see. So basically it's an empty warehouse area. All right. I'm going to go ahead and skip level 1, and I'm just going to briefly go over the next ones. And then I'm going to go into detail on one of my favorite levels of the Backrooms. There's an infinite number of levels. Okay. So you could literally make up a level. I'm going to talk about that. So level 2 is pipe dreams. Basically, it's a long corridor with like electrical wiring, very cramped feeling, right? Like you're underground in some sort of a maintenance tunnel or something. Huge pipes lining the walls, you know what I mean? Something that you would expect to see in a Freddy Krueger movie, basically. Level 3 is the electrical station. It's very similar to level 2, except for there's more electrical components and machines and stuff that are worrying about. Level 4 is an abandoned office. This one's really interesting. I'm actually going to read a little bit on level 4. So level 4, known as the abandoned office, is an expansive, empty structure with architecture resembling a modern office building. Despite this, level 4 is entirely devoid of furniture and other accessories that one would typically expect to find in an office. Excluding the abalone gray concrete pillars scattered about, spots on the carpet of the level appear to indicate that furniture may have previously been present at one point in time. Curiously, this level possesses an effect unseen on many other levels of the Backrooms, that being the presence of seasons. They are referred to in this manner due to the level's exterior weather patterns changing every few months at a constant rate. Let's time out. Let me explain this. So, whenever you enter into this empty office building level, that's infinite, by the way, all you can see outside through the windows. And all you see right now, because of the season that we're in, according to the lore, is a constant storm. It's just storming outside all the time. So that's kind of what it looks like. For the sake of ease, these seasons will be hereafter referred to as spring, summer, autumn, and winter, respectively. So let's see. Basically, these seasons on this level last a very long time. So like, I can't find it right now, but I think it's like years or something like that. So that one's pretty cool. I like that one. Let me go back. The next level is called the Hotel. So level 5, the Hotel. I put some examples I made of level 5 down here. Sometimes you'll see it looks like a very big, opulent, sort of Victorian style, with a splash of Oriental flair to it, right? This huge, opulent hotel, and you're inside of it. There's plants growing. It's very like red carpet and gold trim and stuff all over the place. And it has like it's got a main lobby area. It's got a huge ballroom through one door off to one side. And then it's got like your hotel levels or whatever, right? So that's the hotel level. There's only one entity on that level, and it's known as the Beast, I believe. I could be wrong on that, but the lore is always updating too. But basically, there's this creature called the Beast who's in this level with you. Level 6 is called Lights Out. And I'm just going to go through the first 9 levels. I'm not going to do infinity levels right now, right? But these are known as like the main 9, basically. Some people believe that these are like the official 9 levels or whatever, right? I believe in all the levels. I like all of them, right? But just to give you an idea of how varied these levels can be, right? Level 6 is called Lights Out. It's completely dark. No light will work in this place. No light is seen in this place. Basically, you have to sort of start memorizing where things are as you make your way through the Lights Out level. And there are entities in the Lights Out level. There are actually entities in there that have converted other travelers and other visitors, changing them as to these creatures that sort of roam about in the dark, looking for you, looking for other people that are in there. I don't know if they eat them or whatever it was. Let's see. Then we've got another level. This one's called Thassallophobia. Which one is this? I'm looking at it right now. I forgot. It says level 7 is unique in that it is a vast expanse of water that appears to stretch endlessly. Nobody thus far has fully explored level 7, but what is currently known is that the first and potentially only room of level 7 is not flooded, and it has the usual fluorescent lighting. The room has a thin layer of water at the bottom and is strangely skewed from the rest of the floor. Anomalously, the single door opens to show the surface of the water from a top-down perspective. The room is seemingly rotated horizontally, but gravity still works to keep one's feet on the floor in the first room. Upon entry, gravity switches to pulling one towards the water and is significantly stronger than regular gravity. The water has been reported to be very cold, and it is generally unadvised to enter it. The floor of the ocean, I'm going to come back to that gravity thing in a minute. The floor of the ocean is made up of carpet, hardened by a thick layer of tar above it. There are several skeletons, including several almost humanoid figures and massive fish. Little else is known about the depths of the waters aside from the endless expanse of tar and bones. This level poses a significant barrier to future exploration of level 8 and onward. All right, so I want to talk about this particular level. There's many levels like this one that we just went over. This is level 7, right? And it described how gravity acts funny. How if you go through this door, it actually flips and it pulls you in a different direction. What this reminds me of, for example, in pop culture, because I think this is absolutely true. I believe this is feasible, possible, and physically this does happen in various places, right? Not in most of the world where how we normally experience gravitational pull, right? But for example, if you've seen the movie BFG, the girl jumps through the water and she flips upside down and gravity pulls her back down onto the earth, like upside down through the water, right? There's many different pop culture references to gravity acting funny, but I believe that this is a reference to how this really actually happens, right? For example, I talk about often how what is known as, or what has been commonly taught in academics as gravity is getting stronger. Okay. It's getting stronger. And the reason for that, I believe the main reason is because of the pressure building up in our world, causing things to become more and more dense. That will change whenever the world depressurizes, right? The world is pressurized. And because of that pressure and because the atmosphere is contained, we have containment system pressure storms, which we call weather, right? And wind and stuff like that. So when the world fills up with enough pressure, it will pop, right? And the atmosphere will escape our world. I just posted a short video about this recently too. But basically, when that happens, all the atmosphere that escapes our world will be equal to a new buoyant force that will push up from below. So however much weight of atmosphere escapes during the depressurization period will be equal to the force that will push things up, allowing objects that before couldn't, now will float, at least for a short time. And then, of course, the buoyancy will be restored, but it will be more than before, so objects will weigh less. So how is this related to the backrooms? They describe this exact characteristic in many of the backrooms, how sometimes their concept or mainstream concept of gravity is distorted and changes and acts really funny and weird. I also talk about the leap of faith on my channel when you get closer to the North Pole. Those people who want to, who arrive at the edge of the North Pole or the edge of the extreme westernmost parts of our world, which is inward parts of our world in the olden ways of describing directions, between the Pillars of Hercules, people come to a huge opening that leads down into the earth. And the legends indicate to me, at least so far, that that's the point at which a leap of faith is required, because it looks like it's straight down, and it's the cliffs of insanity from The Princess Bride, basically, and many other places too. It looks like if you jump in, you're done. You're just going to float down until you hit the bottom and splat. But the opposite is true in this particular location, according to the myths and the legends. It says that people will jump, and just like Alice in Wonderland, they start to float, and they just float on down and they gently land on the other side, or on the inside of our world. All right, so that one's level 7, which is the infinite expanse of water. And then we've got level 8, the cave system. Nah, I don't like this one at all, but basically it's unsafe, unsecure, and infested with entities. Very dangerous place. It's an expansive cave system, infamous for the numerous spider-like entities which inhabit it. Screw level 8, not gonna, no. I'm passing that one. Only a few light sources can be found randomly throughout the ceilings of the caves. These too will go dark after only a few minutes of exposure, making exploration of this level extremely difficult and dangerous. In addition to low visibility, loud sounds are known to echo through the level and attract large swarms of spiders to the source. The majority of this level is cramped and filled with jagged stalagmites, stalactites that make linear progress impossible, though some larger cave systems have been documented deep within that could serve as an outpost location in the future. Other areas of interest have been documented too. All right, so, it says world eaters. Hold on, I want to actually read this part. I haven't read all this. There's like a lot to read. It says world eaters. This is my first time reading it. Due to level 8 being Cornus, sacred number, the rogue world eaters set up base at level 8. They maintain total control over the caverns and will shoot on sight. Even the entities that dwell within the caves are afraid of them, so avoid at all costs. This is super interesting, right? Now, keep in mind, this is totally made up by random people in the world, right? That are getting together collectively and applying their individual creativity. I want to come back to that because it really adds to the reality behind the concept. Anyways, it's really interesting that they associate any of these with world eaters, because that's another thing that I talk about on my channel quite often, is the plasma that comes down, which is also symbolically spiders or grandmother spider, according to the natives of America. This grandmother spider figure or mother spider or whatever it is that comes down from the sky. And it's plasma separating itself out, right? Anyway, so that's level 8. There are some other levels too. Let me get back to my notes real quick. Let's talk about theories, right? There's a million. There's at least 25 solid, strong, really good theories as to what the backrooms actually are, because some people are theorizing in the lore, in the game, with the understanding that it's not real. They're theorizing what it could be, right? And it's funny to me because it's nothing. If you break it down to its actual literal, like, what is it? It's just a made up story based on a picture. Or is it? Or is it? Right? Both of them are true. One, it's just a rumor that turned into a bigger rumor that turned into a bigger rumor. That's true. But does that mean it's not real? Does that mean it's completely fabricated and it's totally a lie? Interesting. Check this out. There's many different theories, from other dimensions to simulation theory, right? So these backrooms could be other dimensions that coexist with our dimension, and we sort of slip through and we end up in these other dimensions or whatnot, right? It could be a simulation, and it could be a glitch in the simulation, right? Where you're caught in between the simulated worlds. It could be death. This could be what happens when people die, which is really interesting because quite often in these found footages that they'll show you of people who've allegedly been to the backrooms, it often starts with somebody falling. They fall, they trip or something. They happen to always have a video camera, and then they end up in the backrooms. They fall all the way down to the backrooms floor. The carpet saves them, and they walk around and show you what it looks like, right? So it could be death. These people that could be what it's like when somebody, they fall down, they die, and all of a sudden they wake up. They're not in heaven. They're not in hell. They're in the backrooms. That's another theory. Another theory is that basically it's like a coma or like being in a coma. There's the theory that the universes are colliding, that different universes are smashing into each other, and that we're seeing these glitches, right? One of them could be compared to the Mandela effect, right? Where there's instant changes in our known reality that have changed, but however, it hasn't changed some of our memories of those changes. Very similar to that. So these different universes collide into one another, and there's these glitches, right? Some glitches add things to our world. Some glitches open up little doors or gateways that allow us to slip into the other universe that just crashed into ours, basically. We also have tile set theory, which is one I really like. I think it's very creative. Tile set is a video game expression. In video games, quite often, they have what they call tile sets, which is like a group of basic generic items that you use to put together to create the world. So you could have a tile set of all walls. This is popular in Fortnite, if you play Fortnite, right? You could go to your wall tile set and choose from all the different types of walls that there are, and then you could select those and manifest them into the Fortnite video game or the real world in the video game, right? So the backrooms would be like your storage area of the video game where people with access can go to add things to reality or to add things to the video game, right? So those tile sets are like, each one of these levels would be a whole different tile set. Like that one up there would be a metropolitan city tile set, right? It's sort of a mold that you could use to add to various worlds, right? Also, we've got like the theory of a shattered reality, etc. I would like to talk to you about my theory, though. I missed it in the chat. I'm going to have to look later. I didn't see how many people know about what this is or not. If you don't know, it's very interesting, isn't it? Right? If you do know, it's very interesting, isn't it? Either way, it's super interesting, right? Either that or you're just not the kind of type and you're just like, whatever. That's totally fine too. I respect that. Anyways, I think it's super interesting. So I'm going to talk all about it. And what I'm going to do now is give you my theory. I'll give you the JayDreamerZ perspective, the FractalVerse theory. Right? Check this out. Carl Jung refers to the unconscious mind and shared mental concepts. It's generally associated with idealism and was coined by Carl Jung, the idea of the unconscious, the collective unconscious, right? According to Jung, the human, which is spelled J-U-N-G, Carl Jung or Jung, the human collective unconscious is populated by instincts as well as by archetypes. Ancient primal symbols such as the Great Mother, the Wise Old Man, the Shadow, the Tower, water, and the Tree of Life. Carl Jung calls this the collective unconscious. I call it the collective superconscious. What are the backrooms really? They are a recent example of the power of collective subconscious focus, right? So imagine, if you will, you've got lots of people in the world and a huge group of those people all decide to focus on one subject or one image or one thought or one pattern or one world or whatever it is, right? But they are doing it subconsciously, right? There's a difference between collective conscious focus and collective subconscious focus. One will actually lead to the other. Now check this out. The idea being when an individual opens the creative mind, they often pull inspiration from the truth frequency, the ether, the Akashic records, the Hall of Records, from time itself, from the vril, from earth energy, etc. The truth may be received in whole, in part, in pieces, in shards, and in dust. The power of the truth revealed depends upon the experience and the power of the individual. So imagine, let me just stop and help out, right? Because this is pretty extensive explanation, right? You've got you got everyone in the world. Close your eyes. Imagine everyone in the world. Okay, there they are. Whew. And a huge group of them, all subconsciously, without even knowing it, are focusing in on the same subject, right? Every single one of those individuals that is focusing on the same subject adds to the collective. But keep in mind, some have the ability, but it's weak. Some are just adding to subconsciously with their dust particles that they have, their dust particles of truth, right? Some have huge adding to it as well. So we keep these things in mind. So we understand with the different levels of people who are contributing, it will look different, right? There will be parts that are more cartoonified and a little further from the truth, you could say, which is, it's still truth. And there are parts that are right on point. All right, good. Let's continue on. So the truth may be received in whole, part, pieces, shards, and dust. The power of truth revealed depends upon the experience and the power of the individual. When other individuals join the first individual, so the initial person that starts subconsciously focusing on this topic or subject, right, or place or whatever, others join in, sharing a similar focus. Their combined creative truths exponentially grow stronger. What does that mean? That means the more individuals, the more spirits that you have subconsciously focusing in on a topic, a subject, a place, a person, or whatever it may be, the more truth there's going to be added to the culmination of that focus. Okay, so in this example, it would be one person that started off by saying, "Hey, everybody!" in this 4chan post, send in your submissions of creepy pictures or whatever, right? Right? Not everyone even knows what it is that they're focusing on, but it's all going in the same direction. And the more people that join in, the more closer the direction gets until eventually out there, further out, it joins and it touches. So another person writes a story, and then another person that triggers a domino in their mind or in their soul or in their spirits. And they're like, yeah, oh my God, it's also got this. They might not even know how they know that. Maybe they're just super creative or whatever, but it's all adding to, it's starting to actually form an image, a picture, right? This, by the way, is how this concept that I'm teaching you right now has been used by many people throughout history. Okay. I'll explain it another time. Anyways, let me finish the description here. When other individuals join the first individual, sharing a similar focus, their combined creative truths exponentially grow stronger. Taken to the extreme, it would be possible for a large enough group of powerful enough individuals to learn the truth of anything from themselves through focused, collective, creative expressions. And that's just one way. That's just one way, okay? So, for example, excuse me, oh my God. For example, the number of people making movies increases with the population, right? They're connected to one another. The population is increasing exponentially. Therefore, the movies begin to all look and sound the exact same, and even more with the passage of time. The same with books, the same with commercials, the same with video thumbnails. I'm sure you've noticed. Right? That's like, people do that, but that's insane, man. They'll be like, oh, it's not even a part of their video. And they pose for the thumbnail as if it's crazy. Anyways, all of them are starting to look the exact same. The same with paintings, etc. Right? The movies that you go to watch, some people aren't even watching movies anymore because it's the same story told over and over and over. Same movies over and over. They have to go back and remake movies because they're running out of ideas, original ideas for movies. Why? Because the collective subconscious or superconscious has already tapped into much of the truths that are waiting for us to be found, right? So that's an example. In an infinite FractalVerse, there is no fiction. There is only truth, repeated over and over and over and over and over from every perspective. Therefore, if we live within a FractalVerse, the Backrooms as a conceptual collection are very real. They represent the mysterious hallways of the underworld beneath our feet. They represent the plasma conduits leading to other worlds above our heads. They are the liminal spaces, places of transition, passages, world connectors. Being outside of those worlds that they connect, they are not subject to the rules of the containers that they connect to. Right? Let me explain that real quick. There is a law, a universal law, that says whenever a spirit goes into or possesses an object, normally it must obey, it must live according to the laws of that object, basically, right? So if you're a robot, if you have I've got a robot right here. All right, so check this out. If this robot right here, right? If this one had appendages that could move and stuff, and all it needed was power, right? I could imbue this robot with spirit, with electrical energy, with impulse, right? And make it come alive, right? And it could move and stuff. And it could move its arms and it could walk if its appendages worked. But if I put that same spirit into a toaster, the toaster is not just going to start walking around and now it can move like its little toaster mouth and stuff. It has to live according to the rules of the shape that it inhabits. It has to be a toaster. It can turn on, it could turn off. You know what I mean? It can't do a whole lot, but it can live on its own according to the rules of the object that it is inhabiting. All right. Anyways, back to my notes here real quick. Hey, Mars Pop, thank you. He says Jay's breaking it down 100%. I appreciate it. Thank you. All right, cool. All right, let's see. Where was I? Some creatures have made a home of those places in between, which reminds me of the song by Dave Matthews, The Space Between. I don't know if you know that one. Those creatures are alien to us. In the Backrooms, they're called entities. I call them Fantazoids. It's the same thing. The superconscious realization / manifestation of the Backrooms. Can you tell when I'm reading? Right? It's funny. I try really hard to not sound like I'm reading. I hate sounding like I'm reading. The superconscious realization manifestation of the Backrooms is how ESP can work on larger group scales. The various levels of the Backrooms have been created by various levels of individuals with natural intuition / ESP levels also ranging from weak to powerful. If this is true, and the Backrooms exist, then naturally our realm Earth is but one room in a much larger hallway. This is great news to some of us who have grown tired of the room that we're currently in, those who will to explore and venture forth. It means it's possible. Also, in 1979, Project Phoenix, with the assistance of the Greys, was successful in producing a mind amplifier. Wow. Under drug influence, psychics, those with mental capabilities above the norm, were hooked up to these machines and were able to create physical forms. That's just when they amplify a powerful individual's mind. Imagine what we could do collectively when ours is amplified collectively. And I'm going to tell you something. I believe that the energy is amplified. Okay, good and bad. That's why the world's in chaos right now. It's being pulled apart. It's in flux, which is also an omen and a sign that the apocalypse is just around the corner. Where was I? In the Backrooms lore, so we're talking about Project Phoenix and how the government has these secret little agencies, right? Or secret government, whatever you want to call it. They have these little agencies that manipulate people's minds, creatures. They experiment on people and animals and plants and stuff, right? In the Backrooms lore, there is a mysterious government-like agency constantly experimenting or playing in the Backrooms. Many of us know that their real-life counterpart shares similar cover-ups. So the Backrooms government agencies have a real-life counterpart that many of you are already familiar with, who share in similar cover-ups. And in the lore of the Backrooms, this agency is trying to cover up that the Backrooms exist, right? But certain information and video clips are like found by us, right? It's just found, right? Just same thing with the awakening that's happening in the world right now. Hey, Rob Gittel, welcome. Anyways, it's very similar, right? Many of us know that their real-life counterpart shares in similar cover-ups. So, for example, CERN or the Philadelphia experiment, projects Dominic, High Jump, Fishbowl, etc. Right? There are these things that the government and other agencies of this world have their hands in that most people don't really know about, and when they do hear about it, they don't believe it because they've already been conditioned to see their rulers in a certain way, right? There are also groups of travelers who form varying groups when navigating the Backrooms. Attempts are being made to document as many levels as possible, detailing what the Backrooms are like. If my theory is true, with every level entry that is being made about the Backrooms in the lore that exists on the internet right now, with every entry made about each level, and every new level added, humanity's potential to remember the greater reality increases. Nearly all aspects of what is presented on the internet are cartoonifications of truths lost or forgotten. They may serve as reminders to those who are waking up. To others, they are complete nonsense, only good for amusement or horror. And that's fine too. I mean, like, if you just want to be amused, that's totally fine. Me, I see the truth in everything. There are symbolic objects and there are actual objects. Now, we've talked about a couple of those objects, right? I believe many of the objects are very much symbolic of real objects, but also keep in mind, there's debris in the Backrooms. Why? Why is there just debris, random trash, or, you know what I mean? Random strange things like a couch in the middle of nowhere. Well, people could have brought them with them, but here's another thing, right? I talk about the plasma apocalypse and how the world depressurizes from time to time. With that depressurization, many things that are in our world get sucked up and out, and they are spit out into the Backrooms. Essentially, they're spit out into the FractalVerse. They're spit out into the halls that connect other realms. So out there, it's very possible you might find trash from not just our world, or debris, I should call it, right? Could be trash too. I'm pretty sure like a lot of paper objects and stuff, you know, some things could possibly burn up, but it depends, right? They all explode outward and then they settle and they land, you know, wherever they happen to land. So that's why you can have these random strange objects in the Backrooms that you could use. All right. Next up, we've got the Backrooms level called the Crimson Forest. I want to read this one to you, okay? Some of these, when you read them, their descriptions will totally hit home. And there's a lot of reoccurring themes, which is also very interesting to me when I'm watching other people collectively, because I have a YouTube channel and I'm privy to watching thousands of people all do similar things, right? So for example, there's the new AI that creates masterpieces when you give it prompts. You should see all the very similar things that people are creating. They have unlimited ability to make a picture of anything. You know how many unicorns and mermaids and, selfie pictures of the end of the world and all this stuff, like it's all repetitious. It is us collectively, we should use that as a mirror. One, to realize that our ability to be creative has been severely limited if we're all coming up with the exact same ideas time and time again, right? But two, it should also show us as a mirror that it's reflecting back to us a certain reality. Now, check this out. Let's look at the Crimson Forest level. I think it was level 9 or something. I can't remember. But anyways, and And there's some debate as to whether or not this level actually exists anymore, because the person or people that created it or added it to the lore did something that was considered offensive to some other people. And so they sort of deleted this level and made up a new story as to why that level was deleted. That gets more into politics and gossip and, you know, strife between little baby humans. And I'm not interested in that kind of stuff. But I do want to share this level with you because it's amazing. Check this out. It says, the Crimson Forest is a beguiling thicket blanketed in a chilly fog. It is serene and idyllic under the ever-watchful eye of the lanterns which ward off harmful entities. Much of the soil and the flora is tinted shades of crimson and red, giving the level its moniker, the Crimson Forest. Although there is a higher than average amount of ferric oxides in the soil, the cause of the stark coloration in the flora is of yet still unknown. The Crimson Forest is a beguiling thicket blanketed in a chilly fog. I just repeated that. That's weird. Although there is a higher than average... Man, I just repeated that too. The forest is expansive, its borders unexplored, and its geography largely unmapped. The areas known contain wide valleys, dense woods, large rolling mountains, and snaking streams that cut through it, all ending in boggy wetlands. Where this level becomes strange is its geographic folding. Let me time out. I want to jump into this Crimson Forest level, right? So as it's describing it, it's talking about how the plants are red. Our plants, many plants, I believe, are going to bloom differently after the plasma apocalypse happens, and the sky itself turns red, which is going to have an effect on all plant life in our world. I also believe there's going to be a brand new influx of oxygen into our world as well, right? So different chemicals are going to be introduced, which will have an effect on plants too. So I believe that many times this is shown to us in our pop culture, right, as this alien world with these strange reddish, purplish, kind of weird alien plants, but they're not alien at all. It's here in our world. It's just the conditions have changed. It also is very much alien because conditions change on other worlds that change those plants as well. All right, but then it starts to talk about how there's a fog, right? After the plasma apocalypse, the world depressurizes, pulling apart rapidly the atmosphere, which causes fog worldwide, right? And everything turns red. So literally, it's describing to you our post-apocalyptic world and that of other worlds that are like ours as they go through their red sky event. It says the forest is expansive. Its borders are unexplored. Its geography is largely unmapped. Oh, it also talked about how the borders of the Crimson Forest are very boggy and swamp-like, right? Exactly the same as I have talked about in the plasma apocalypse theory, how our oceans are going to be sucked up into the sky, and what's left is going to be muddy, swampy areas all over the place, especially with all of the shaking and the earthquakes that happen worldwide. Water comes up to the surface, and our world for a short time becomes a swamp world, like Dagobah in Star Wars, basically, until the water subsides, goes back down, and then all of the areas that we used to consider oceans that were full of sand and muck and stuff at the bottom, they will dry out and become huge tracts of deserts everywhere, and we will live on a desert world instead of a water world. Anyway, then it starts talking about how the land, there's these geographic anomalies, which are really weird. And it says the tectonic plates of the forest do not lie flat, but instead crumple and fold into one another like crinkled paper. In some regions, looking into the sky reveals more of the forest above you, accessible if you simply keep walking forward long enough to find where the fold is. In these places, the concept of down is subjective, as reaching a high enough altitude will reverse gravity and have you fall upwards onto the fold above you. These properties are strange but stable. Settlers have become accustomed to the phenomena. Exactly how I've talked about. There are areas of strange magnetic anomalies and gravitational anomalies here in our world. Imagine what's going to happen when the conditions of this world change. It says the hanging fog never dissipates, keeping the level near a chilly 8 degrees Celsius at all times. So bring a jacket. Whether the fog is created by the mangled, which roam level 9.1, or by the lanterns themselves is unknown. Much of the running water in the forest is potable, yet acrid. Boiling is still recommended. Wanderers have taken to letting their water settle in large containers and removing the silt at the bottom to combat the natural taste. The Crimson Forest is home to a rich ecosystem of fauna. Hold on, I'm going to time out one more time real quick. It keeps referring to these lights called the lanterns, right? So check this out. This is very interesting too. In the Crimson Forest, right, which in our world, at the middle of the world, the legends describe how there is a magic forest, okay, on this hidden secret island, which has the plasma volcano or Rupus Negra at the middle. This is also paradise. This is also the Garden of Eden, right? So that's the magical forest that's usually alluded to, right? And it's magical because it's one of the areas that is energetically trapped. So it builds up energy as we are losing energy out here, basically. So they have magic still at the North Pole. Okay, that's all very much a short version of that. But it talks about these lights that keep away all of the harmful entities, right? And I have talked about these lights that shoot up from the middle of our world in the form of these sky pillars or sky beams that shoot up. All this virile energy shoots outward from every inner earth cave entrance or hallway or whatever you want to call it, but mainly at the North Pole. There's huge entrances up there, according to the legends and the myths. And those lights are just good energy. I mean, like, my research basically says that those beams of light are pure good energy. I don't know what to describe it as, but there's no evil in this energy that's shooting up and spiraling off into the sky that comes from inside of the earth. It's all good. It's all great. It's all beautiful. It's all happy. It's all good vibes, right? Which is the opposite of that red snake-like plasma that comes down from above. That's why when the two meet, it's seen as this war in the heavens between good and evil. Right? So those are the beams of light that I talk about. And speaking of which, too, I want to read you this prophecy real quick. I believe this is from the Hopi. Let's see. It says on this website, there are many prophecies throughout the Indian America, but we shall mention these two. The first one says, "The day the lances will come, the eagle and the serpent will contend. The children of the feather shall ascend. Children of the reptile shall return to the depths. Only the fire will keep the stars in their heavens." Bam. Right? So the day of the lances will come. This all happens on the day of the lances. A lance is a beam. A lance is a pole, right? So these lances shoot up from within the earth. They're beams of light. And when this happens, the eagle and the serpent contend with one another. Well, the serpent is an easy one to figure out. It's the snake-like plasma that comes in and seeks to ground itself whenever our magnetic field goes down. Because there's plasma up there right now, and it's being kept out by that magnetic field that many of you call the sky, right? When that magnetic field goes down and we're in the neutral point of this polarity shift, that plasma snakes its way in. So when the Hopi talk about how the eagle will fight with the serpent is that multi-headed hydra type Medusa snakes that come down from the sky, right? The eagle is that beam of light, that pole, that lance that shoots up into the sky and it branches out towards the top, giving you the thunderbird or the phoenix, etc. The children of the feather shall ascend. That means get sucked up into the sky or go up to the next level, right? Because in native traditions, they talk about how each time the natives survive the apocalypse, they climb some sort of a pole or a reed or a rod or a beam or a column, etc., up into the next level of the Backrooms. They don't say the Backrooms, but basically that's exactly how they describe it. Okay, the Backrooms is not a brand new concept. It is discussed and referenced in ancient Native American legends and lore. Ken, hey, thanks, man. Big shout out to Ken Albert. Super appreciate you. Okay, so that was that one. And then here's the next one too. This is another one of those prophecies. It says, today's red man is white. Tomorrow's white man is green. Now that's super interesting, and I believe that it's directly related to this monochromatic theme of the Backrooms itself, right? Check this out. Just like in the Crimson Forest level that we learned about in the Backrooms, our world has a color shift to our world right now, especially with the light getting brighter and brighter and more intense. We have a lot more colors. We have a huge color spectrum. However, whenever the sky turns red and light is reversed and energy is reversed, everything is going to have an amber glow to it. So everything will be monochromatic. So exactly how you see in one of those like pressurized sodium lamps, that's a really good example of what it's going to be like in our world, right? Everything, most things will pretty much look like they're all the same color. For all intents and purposes, it will be a black and white world, right? We live in the world of color right now, but the world conditions will change one day, which will introduce the monochromatic aspect, and everything will be essentially two different shades, light and dark, basically. And then over time, the colors and the light spectrum starts to change, and so colors start slowly being reintroduced into our world. At first, it's on the red spectrum, right? So everything reacts color-wise the way that it would react if it were under only a red-colored light. You know what I mean? All right, let me jump into the chat real quick. I feel like I'm pretty good on all my notes here. Hopi's in the chat. What's up, Hopi? I like your little Sonic the Hedgehog. Says, Jay, any mention of the Backrooms concept in the Bible? Yeah. So the first one that comes to my mind is whenever in the New Testament, it makes reference to Tartarus, the place where the fallen angels or / giants were placed down in the inner recesses of the earth. It's known commonly as Sheol, right? And the book of Enoch goes into great detail discussing the backrooms of the underworld right underneath us, which would be considered another backrooms level, right? And that underworld underneath us has many of its own sub-levels, just to use backrooms terminology. So yes, the Bible definitely makes allusions to this concept of the backrooms. The Watchman is in the chat. I like the mask. Says, Jay, DNA certified human giants on the East Coast, U.S. Roger Spur mud fossils. God, right? The Cliff's Notes version, right? DNA certified human giants on East Coast. All right, sweet. Right on. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. All right, let me jump back into the chat here. I'm getting caught up. I'm bringing the chat right to the middle of the screen so that I can talk with everybody. What do you think about this concept? That's what I'd like to hear. I haven't been in the chat this entire presentation. What are your thoughts? Tell me. I'm sure you've told everyone in the chat. What are your ideas? What are your theories about the backrooms? Have you heard of the backrooms? Does it sound familiar? Does it seem pretty creepy and strange, but also like you can't, you know what I mean? Like there's something there. There's something to it. Scarlet Shadow says, JayDreamerZ, have you seen the movie Dune? I have not. However, it's come up many times in my research. So I've seen enough of it to get the gist of it and know where it belongs on the timeline. I thought of you and the afterworld of Plasma Apocalypse. Perfect. That's exactly what I thought of when the movie Dune has come up. I've got to see that movie. God, it looks so boring in all of the previews. I'm so sorry. Everyone says it's amazing. I have to force myself to watch it, but it's kind of like Game of Thrones. To me, it's a little slow. Like I watch my own YouTube videos on 2 times the speed. Actually, I watch every YouTube video usually on 2 times the speed. So yeah, I will watch that sometime. Alex says, you could maybe make these into a series, Jay. People keep adding to it. I love it. It resonates so much. I do too. Thanks, Alex. And that's also another reason why I like the idea so much. People collectively are constantly adding to it, right? No matter how ridiculous their levels seem to be, right? Because they're going to get really out there and crazy because, you know, if everyone's adding stuff, then naturally some people will troll the levels. However, trolling is very real. Trolls are very real. It's not just some modern name that describes someone trying to mess with you on the internet. A troll is a real deal, okay? It's a real creature. It's a real humanoid being that once walked around and existed. Giants existed. Elves existed. All of these things that we consider to be fantasy. God, man, if we just start restudying and looking them back up to find what their origins are, man, I feel like everyone needs to go to Norway, Sweden, Iceland, Denmark, all these places where they are required, basically. They pass down these stories, and I applaud them all for that. Rage Against the Machine says the Nephilim. Yep, Nephilim means the fallen ones. So guess what? They no-clipped down into our world. Like, you know what I mean? The fallen ones. What if they just happen to be space travelers of some sort, right? Or FractalVerse travelers or sliders, right? And they happen to be above our world, and they didn't know that the apocalypse was going to happen, but they get sucked down into it or fall down into it or something, right? It's like they no-clipped into our world, possibly. They could have done it purposefully, though, just like I do when I play Skyrim and that stupid room is locked and I freaking ditched the key somewhere and I need to get in that room. I'm no-clipping right through that wall. All right, let's see. Alex says, I have dreams all the time similar to this, Jay, and I've just been trying to figure them out. This has made me know more people have had similar experiences, and we are all connected. That's what I'm seeing in this. I'm seeing our connectedness, right? Now, don't get me wrong. There's going to be groups out there, little Backrooms, groupie fans who are like, that's not how the Backrooms are supposed to be. Oh yeah, we think the Backrooms are supposed to be this way or whatever. And that's fine. You're always going to have little bickering amongst baby humans, okay? I stay out of the bickering. I'm looking at the breadcrumbs of truth that are collected and dispersed by all of us. SSP Beavis, welcome. Hey, it's good to see you. Says, I do think about sliders and the Rosen Bridge when I see this. Yes, exactly. The Einstein-Rosen Bridge, right? Cobra says, Jay, the pillars of the earth. Right, the pillars that shoot up from within the earth. There's also a really interesting book by Terry Goodkind called The Pillars of Creation, too. I think you might like. Jojo says, Jay, I think that the Backrooms have to do with quantum levels to the 9 layers of hell we can reach by our thoughts. Totally agree. People have written about the different levels of hell or the underworld or Sheol, etc. Daughters of Lilith says, Jay, the darkness levels with monsters would scare me shitless. Also me, okay? Also me. So what's cool about that, okay, is that since we're aware of that, we can do things to prepare for that, which will instill us with confidence, which will eradicate fear. So to acknowledge fear is one of the first steps and a good tool to use to get rid of fear. So I'm glad that you're doing that. I Spy Sky says, I'm not sure it was Impossible Channel. I think one of the pics he showed Jay has it showing in the background. He showed Jay has it showing in the background. Possibly. I super love the Impossible Channel. He left a comment on my channel a long time ago. I hope he still watches because he's a cool dude. Let's see, James from big shout out to James from the Impossible Channel, by the way. I read people's energy. He's got really good energy. Real cool guy. And I just love his content. I don't know where he gets his content from, but wow. I mean, I do. It's everybody. People all over the world are sending this dude the most insane images of things that we just thought would be impossible, but boom. And that's why he calls his channel that. I love that guy's channel. I love it. I thought about doing a channel like his. I even asked people to send me submissions and stuff, but no, I'm going to let him be him and I'll be JayDreamerZ. J Craw says, Jay, I've experienced telepathy in real life. What level of the Backrooms would you consider this to be? Telepathy as a level in the Backrooms? I'm not sure. Honestly, I have no idea what level of the Backrooms. I can tell you that everything is real. Like, to me, that's my motto, basically. Everything is real. It's just all twisted and tied up in knots. Daughters of Lilith says, Jay, Backrooms are like hidden compartments from like pyramids or ancient ruins. Yeah, there's even people that say that there's tunnels and pyramids that go into the inner recesses of the earth under the Great Pyramid and other Great Pyramids. Alex says we will interpret it how we like. Yeah, go for it. Do your thing. Jojo says, Jay, something just like Randonautica, our thoughts manifesting things in quantum physics, AI running it all, spiritual always backs the physical. Excellent. I'm going to get rid of that almond water real quick because that's bothering the heck out of me. Boom, bye-bye. First try, not too bad. Piercing the Veil says, there was a guy that used a Jacob's ladder to time travel. There's some documentaries on YouTube about him. Jacob's ladder to heaven, maybe? That sounds pretty cool. I'll have to look into that. Thank you for the, hey, Antoine, thank you. Appreciate it. Oh, right on. Thank you twice. Val's cracking up. Awesome. Mars Pop says, Jay, these backrooms make me think of realities that may be purposefully hidden, but are revealing themselves by way of frequency shifts, dreaming, knowledge, sharing, etc. See, that's super interesting to me. I believe that people with a strong psychic ability, people have got different descriptions for it, but I believe that they can look into these places. They can look into these other realms, right? I do it. Like, it's hard to explain, so I'm not really going to go there now. But I absolutely believe that people can feel, some people can sense, some people can taste, some people can smell, some people can, and it's varying degrees when it comes to ESP and psychic powers, because it's unique to the individual, basically. But yeah, I definitely believe that people can remote view these places, that they can astrally project to these places. There may be barriers. So for example, when you're astrally projecting, we're dealing with energy, and there may be energetic barriers or places that are off limits that you do not want to go to energetically, because you might not return to your body, right? So it's always good to study, and it's always good to have somebody to study under for a time until you're ready to walk on your own. That's my advice. Alex is like, I had to watch this during the day. Ken Albert, hey, gave me $5. Thank you. Thank you. That's gas money to help me get around. Thank you super much. Appreciate it. Clues 33 says, Jay, could we change the perception of the backrooms through our creativity? The backrooms fixed. Yeah, absolutely. That's my opinion on it, is we can do anything collectively. We are extremely, amazingly powerful, or at least have the potential for extreme power together. Oh my God. If I could just do one video that would impact everyone and not do any other videos ever again, it would be one that would convince people of the power that we have collectively, right? Individually, you have amazing potential and power. Okay. It almost makes me just sad and happy at the same time. It's really hard to explain because people don't know this. People don't realize this. This is suppressed from most of you. But thanks to concepts like the backrooms, we're going to see a reemergence in group focused group thoughts, either purposefully, but it's going to start off, I believe, subconsciously. It's going to start off like this, the backrooms, which is unintentional. Or it is not the intent of people to figure out their reality, but that's what they're going to start doing by piecing things together. And if they apply this to comparative mythology, if they apply this to every single movie they have ever watched, every single book they have ever read, you'll start to see that there is no MCU universe. There's no DC universe. There's no Pixar theory universe. There is only the FractalVerse. Every single one of those little universes that's connected, people will start connecting them. And then they'll see that everything is connected. They'll see that everything is fractal. And then they'll start to realize that they can go wherever they want to when they start figuring out what it looks like. Rage Against the Machine. Remote viewing on fire. Scarlet Shadow says, JayDreamerZ 100 on the power that we would have collectively. It blows my mind, also saddens my heart that we're not there yet. Hey, it's all good. There's a time for everything, right? Everything's got a beginning, a middle, and an end. I personally, as much as the world is messed up and torn up and upside down and backwards, and I can't stand it, and it's all the people here are crazy and insane, and I feel like I live in a nightmare, I'm honored to be here. This is the time I would choose to be here. Because this is the time on the precipice. This is the time on the edge. This is the time just before it pops and kicks off and all the fireworks start and all the crazy stuff starts to happen. And that's me. I already know I'm gonna love it when it all goes down. I'm excited about it. So I'm honored to be here during this time. It does suck. So I can resonate. All right, I can relate. Raven Fox, cool name, says, JayDreamerZ, isn't this chat room a back room? A pocket dimension we all know how to get to? Yeah, absolutely. Add to it. Add to the story. Add to the flavor. We're making stone soup collectively. Not just my chat, not just the Good Vibe Tribe, not just me or whatever. Stone soup is the story of a traveler who came into a city. All he had was a rock. All he had was a stone in a pot, an empty pot, right? And he started filling it up with water, and he tossed his rock in there, and he started heating up the rock. And someone was like, hey, what are you making? He's like, oh, I'm making some really good stone soup. You want to jump in on this or what? He's like, yeah. Actually, here, let me go get some carrots. We'll throw some carrots in there. So the guy throws in carrots. Another guy comes by. A woman comes by. They're like, yeah, let me throw in onion. Let me throw in this. Let me throw in that. Pretty soon, stone soup, which started off with absolutely nothing, became a delicious meal of nourishment for the entire community. That's what we do here on my channel, is we make stone soup. Thomas Lowry says, I like the idea that we all have amnesia and forgot what we're supposed to do. I like that too, actually. I'll finish it in just a second. Hold on. So check this out, Thomas. All right. You ever walk into a room and then you forget why you went in there? There's literally a commercial that plays on my YouTube channel sometimes that she says those exact same things, which is, I hate all of them. Anyways, if you walk into a room and then you forget why you were there, it's almost the exact same thing as life. Walking into life, being born, and then you forgot why you were there, right? Just go look in the fridge for a while, then you'll figure out the point of life, I suppose. That's what I do. All right. Anyways, back in the chat. I'm so sorry I'm missing a lot of comments here. Piercing the Veil says, all time and matter exist at the same point in space-time. Sweet. Nice. Good quote. I like it. Rage Against the Machine. Thank you. Appreciate you. iFlyFPV says, Jay, we are there. We are just not there collectively. I love you, my man. Hey, I totally agree with you. I'm there already. I'm just exploring. I'm just an explorer. Jojo says, Backrooms before night shift. Love the excitement tonight, and I got to get ready. All right, sweet. Well, enjoy the rest of your night. What else we got? Scarlet Shadow says, JayDreamerZ, we are a species with amnesia, but many of us are starting to remember. Well said. Excellent. Well, hey, that's my presentation on the Backrooms for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Do go check out my website. Do go check out my book, right? If you're interested, right, in the stuff that we've been talking about. That's my life. And my job is sharing my ideas and theories and ideas and my walk and my experience with all of you. So please, if you want to support me, go check it out. If you just want to be entertained or you think it's all really awesome, go check it out anyways, right? I've got lots of free videos on my channel, lots of free stuff on the website. You can actually preview my book for free too. Share videos if you think that they might be helpful to other truther communities, you know? And is that it? I think that's it. You guys ready to rock out in the credits? I am. Until next time, I'm JayDreamerZ saying good vibes and goodbye.
So hard to fade away. I try so hard to fade away, but something's forcing me to stay. It'd be easier for me if I turn away to flee. Oh, but there's something holding on, the way of being long gone. There's so many ways to escape, but I guess it's time to wake up, time to wake up. Far too many ways to escape, but I guess it's time to Who will be?
Who are you in this vast multiverse?